In the words of my people, brop.
Welcome to the Upshift MX Podcast. And now, your host, Zach Perry.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 4 of the Upshift MX Podcast. Definitely our coolest backdrop by far. Our guest today is the 2018 Amsoil Arenacross Champion, current Cycle Trader Rock River Yamaha rider, Jacob Hayes.
What's happening, guys?
Jacob, thanks for having us, man. I'm excited to be here.
Of course.
So, obviously, I want to get to this year, how well it's been going. You've been killing it, dude, seriously. But and then, obviously, your plans for the future as well. But let's kind of go back from the beginning, man. I kind of want to get your whole story, how you got into the sport, you know, the whole amateur side of it, and what got you to where you are today. So, just take us from the beginning, man.
Man, it's a long journey, so hop
Big
on
trip
to the
back.
roller
Yeah,
coaster.
no, I'm ready for it. Let's hear it.
Just kind of went to the hare scramble races with my dad. That's what he did. Him and his buddies would always go on the weekends and go race in the woods, and I enjoyed watching, even though, you know, I didn't get to see him a lot, but I enjoyed watching, and I was like, man, you know, do you think you can get me a dirt bike? And sure enough, Santa brought a dirt bike one year, and I got on it, and actually scared me quite a bit right when I got on it, and just started riding, just play riding, backyard, you know, in the parking lot, just kind of wherever Dad would go, I would kind of go and tag along with. And then he got me my first, like, they were like air-cooled 50s back then, like Cobra was. And I got on it, and each time I twisted the throttle, my neck would, like, snap back like that. So, like, he was like, whoa, you're not ready for all that. And I'm like, all right. So he got me, like, a JR80 Suzuki.
Cool, okay.
And he was like, each weekend he would go race in the woods. I would go with him. And I honestly spent more time picking my bike up than I actually rode, and was scared. I was out in the middle of the woods by myself. I was just a little kid. So I told him, I'm like, I don't think this is for me.
Right.
So he was like, all right, we'll keep the dirt bike, just ride in the backyard for fun. So that's what we did, and got a little bit older. Not sure at this time what age it was, but he's like, oh, let's give the Cobra 50 a try again. Got on it, felt way better. Neck was not going
jerking around every time, yeah.
So he's like, here, let's race this at the hare scrambles this weekend. So I went, and I won. I won the 50 class, and I was like, all right. So then I knew Birch Creek was racing somehow. Don't know how I knew this, but I knew Birch Creek was racing, and I'm like, please take me there. Took me to Birch Creek. First day was not good.
Really?
I'm going to let you know. It wasn't good.
Wasn't working out.
It wasn't working out. He's like, son, you know, I know you want to do this and you like it, but this is just, like, this is a dangerous sport, and if you're out there kind of in the way, it can get even more. Exactly.
Absolutely.
So begged him to go again the next day, of course, you know, who wouldn't. And went the next day. It went a little bit better. And I don't know where he got this philosophy from, but he was like, look, you know, if you want to pursue this and do this, and, you know, we're going to spend a lot of money, you know, you got 8 races, and if you can win a race by then we'll continue doing this. But if you can't, then we'll pretty much just do it. Yeah, do it for fun. I'm like, 8 races? All right. Like, okay, that's a weird number, but all right, we'll go for it. And just so happens, on the 8th race, I won both motos and the overall.
Whew, just in the nick of time.
Literally, yeah. It took those 8 races, just local races, you know, Actiontown, Birch Creek, Rolling Hill. It's just a lot of local tracks that I've raced throughout my career. And going from there, I just traveled all over. They took me to Las Vegas and World Minis and race Minios, and just got my butt whooped, you know, obviously.
Right.
It was a big step. And tried for Loretta's my first year in 2002 or 3. I was on a 50, and I was in a qualifying position, but failed. Just ended up not qualifying. Went as an alternate to Loretta's. Yeah, I want to say it was 2003.
3 is the first year that you were actually competing in Loretta's.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So then it would have been 2002. And I went as an alternate. Road practice, I was like, wow, this is a massive stage. Like, this is big. So the next year, qualified on a 65. It was one class. I think I went like 3, 6, or 7, whatever. Did okay. And then the next year, did pretty well. I think I got, you know, inside the top 10. And then the next year, my dad really wanted to take it seriously, so he sent me to Zach Osborne's to train. And I trained there for a full year, and they were kind enough to give me, some bikes. They owned Champion Cycles, I believe it was at that time. And they were able to give me some bikes for Loretta's, and they said, look, if you're able to win, because I guess they saw something in me. If you're able to win, then we'll give a good word to you to like KTM and Fox, just kind of like
put your name out there. Basically.
Honestly, like meant the world to me.
Yeah.
So I trained really hard and came out and went 1-1-1 and won the championship in 65 10-11 stock. So I got a full KTM ride after that, a Fox deal. I mean, I as a kid, I was just blown away. I mean, that's honestly just the greatest thing ever. So kind of took off from there and got really serious and did really well throughout the years. 2006 was pretty successful. Loretta's got 6th and 7th, but I was racing guys like, Barsha, Tomac,
that's
Anderson.
what I mean. You were against some of the guys that are like now kicking butt today. I mean, like we were talking about it earlier. You go through some of your Loretta sheets, and I mean, you can name 10 plus guys that are pros, like good pros nowadays that you were competing with. So you've always been around like some of the cream of the crop in the sport. Yeah,
I mean I'm a December baby, so it obviously worked out to where, when that year was up, I had to end up moving to the next class if I was aged out. 12 to 13, if I was 13, I was moving out to where if I was a January baby, I could stay in that class. So that didn't work out for me. But, it just so happens I race, some of right now, the greatest guys in our sport. And I think it made me better. I definitely struggled with confidence. I mean, those guys were older than me. I saw them as being a little bit faster than me. But when it came to time for the gate to drop, I really didn't seem to kind of pay any attention to that. I just was, gate drops, you go wide open, and when the checker flag flies, it's over.
Do what you can do.
Yep. And got signed with Team Green in the end of 2007. Yeah, okay. End of 2007. Which was a big accomplishment, man. I mean, honestly, growing up and seeing Team Green and the Kawasaki team and just what they do for kids moving up, like Ryan Villapoto.
I was about to say, that's right in the middle of the Villapoto 250
exactly.
dynasty.
So, I was like, wow, maybe I could take this somewhere. Like that was, I mean, KTM was my first big ride, but then, to jump ship and move to the Cowie team was big and got a lot of support from those guys. They did a lot for me and moved into 2008 on a Super Mini, and I believe I'm right with the years by all of this. I'm not sure, so I believe it was then, and went and raced Super Mini. But I was racing guys like again Tomac, Max Anstey, Brad Frace, just a bunch of top name guys, and I ended up doing really well in the Super Mini class. And then the next year, Kawasaki had told me they had an old 125. I think it was Tedesco's supercross race bike, and
awesome.
They really wanted to win Loretta's. Haven't won Loretta's in a 125 schoolboy class, and it was a lot of years. And they're like, we really want you to focus on that. And I'm like, okay. So we just focused on that all year. I won some titles in, some of the nationals before Loretta's, but coming into Loretta's, I felt pretty confident that I could get the job done, even though I was racing guys like Savachi, Justin Bogle, Kyle Peters, Brad Frace, a lot of top name guys. Yeah. But I felt confident, and man, got there, felt good. Practice went well, and the racing started. And you know how when you go to Loretta's, you pick the chip, so you're not sure what gate pick you're gonna get. So I got a bad gate pick, but whatever. Worked my way up, and only was able to muster up a 4th in Moto 1, which was, in my opinion, a bad blow. You know what I mean? I felt with the guys that were in the class that a 4th just wasn't able to get the job done for the championship, because that's all that was on my mind. So we had it figured out in every different way. The team, Kawasaki did, and myself with my family being there. And if I could win the next 2, that I would have a shot at winning the championship. So I went out the next moto, got the whole shot, led every lap, wire to wire, won it. And however the people behind me place, it stacked up to, out of myself, Kyle Peters, Justin Bogle, Savachi, and Frace, it was a 5-way tie.
Really? Going into the third moto?
Going into the third moto. However that worked out, it worked out. But it was whoever won the last moto won the championship. So, I mean, talk about pressure. I was 15 at this time, because that's in August. Yeah, so 15 at this time. Talk about a lot of pressure. I was feeling it.
Absolutely.
And, what do you think I did? I went and played in the creek, had some ice cream, just relax, laid back, no need to worry about
Right.
anything like that. So got ready to go for the last moto, and I wouldn't say, I don't know if it was the age that I had on me, but it didn't really feel like I was going to do any other different race. I felt like I was just going out there to race my dirt bike the same I had the moto before and any other time before that. So got going, got the whole shot, and was leading pretty much the whole moto. And I want to say around 3 laps to go, it like hit me like, oh my gosh, you can win the championship. So what do you think I did then? Like swelled up, got really tight, started kind of falling back into the clutches of those guys. And Kyle Peters almost passed me with 2 to go. I mean, I think he came around me in one of the sections, and I'm like, man, you got to get on it. Like, you got to go.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't just him. It was Bogle and Frace and Savachi right behind him. So it was like, if I got passed by one, the other guys were right there.
Right there.
So going in, the white flag came out, and I mean, me as a racer, I think any racer knows when it's the white flag, I mean, you give it everything you have. I mean, and I promise, I gave it everything I had. And going into the last corner, all 5 of us were in the same corner.
Really?
All 5. I went over the double and got the win. And honestly, man, that was one of the best feelings I've ever had riding a dirt bike. I mean, I've done a lot of great things since then, but to be able to accomplish that and feel, just being able to battle my way through the last couple laps, which was such a struggle, and mentally trying to overcome that and winning it for Kawasaki and for myself, it was big. So moving from there, that's when I would say it really hit in that I was like, man, I can do this
full time,
as a living. You know what I mean? Before that, yes, I was taking it serious and wanted to win races and championships and stuff, but at that age, that class, the people that were in the class, it was like, okay, this is
real now.
This is real. So let's fast forward to 2010. I was supposed to be in the B class, contesting for another title again the next year in Loretta's. Well, we got a call saying that that had pointed out, had gotten too many points, whether it had been, at a local race, I'm not sure. My dad appealed it with AMA. It was a long process. It really was. I was stressed out because I'm 16 at this time. I didn't really know if I was ready to go pro yet.
Right.
And it ended up being that they denied the appeal. I had to go AMA pro. Well, we had looked at the calendar and saw that Oak Hill and World Mini, which is in Vegas, was a GNC held race. It was not an AMA held. Exactly. So I could ride the B class there. So that's what I did. Prepared for those. Won a couple titles per event. Raced Jesse Nelson, Bogle, all those guys again. And then the big question was, should I race Loretta's in A? And it was a big decision with myself, my family, and the team. All of Team Green, Ryan Holiday, Dave Gallen, all those guys. We were back and forth on the phone and just trying to decide if it was worth it.
Right.
And they kind of looked at it as, what do you have to lose? You can gain some experience, see where your speed's at. So we got qualified. At the qualifier, it was at Birch Creek. Thankfully, it was at my home race. I was racing Malcolm Stewart, Ian Treadle, Gannon Audette, Zach Freeberg, Anderson. I mean, there was numerous of guys there.
Big names.
And I ended up winning two of the motos at the regional. So I was like, okay, maybe my speed's a lot better than I gave myself credit. And went into Loretta's, no expectations. Honestly, I just wanted to go out there and swing for the fences every single moto, and that's what I did. There was a couple great rides for me. I finished, I remember one moto was early in the morning, and Anderson got the whole shot, and I got off second, and me and him just absolutely left everyone. Like, I was right on him. Was never able to make a pass, but I was right on him, and that gave me a lot of confidence. So
absolutely.
The next day, it was the last 250A moto of the week, and I went out, like I said, swing for the fences, pulled the whole shot, and had about 5-6 seconds on Ian Treadle. He was in second. It was Gannon Audette, and then Anderson was a couple positions back. He was trying to wrap up the championship, and it was on the white flag lap. They threw the white flag, and I'm like, again, heck, I'm gonna win my
Give
first.
It everything
I'm
I got.
gonna win my first 250A moto.
Absolutely.
And I was blown away and come around a corner and wash the front end out. I hit a rock and washed the front end out. Got up, got second, but still, like, the confidence moving forward, I was like, okay.
You know you can be with those guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, I knew I'd watch the B class, seeing what those guys were doing and seeing where my speed was. I was like, wow, if it wouldn't have worked out like this, I'd have been in the B class and maybe winning a couple titles there. But,
right.
It worked out the way it worked out. And felt really confident going into next year. I mean, Kawasaki and myself were in agreement that, if it was against three of us, it was myself, Brad Frace, and Zach Freeberg were the three top Team Green pro amateurs, guys at that time. We got sat down at the beginning of the year around, I don't know, January or so, and got told, hey, guys, this is between you three for the pro circuit ride. Whoever finishes overall the best throughout the whole year will get the ride. So I'm like, okay. Obviously, that's a
game changer.
Yeah, that's a big deal right there, especially me being at this time, 17, wanting to move into the pros and have a great ride. Pro circuit has always been a prestigious team. So got to work. We went to Florida, spent a lot of time in Florida, just myself and my dad in a motorhome, just riding nonstop.
Grinding.
Yep. Spent a lot of time on the trainer. I wouldn't say I feel bad about this now because now I'm 25. And it's easy to look back and see like, hey, I wish I'd have done this different, or hey, I wish I'd have done that different. And I didn't take the training side off the bike as seriously as now I take it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I kind of took the training off the bike for granted. I thought my talent could kind of match up and get me over that hump, but I still did the stuff off the bike, but I can promise you I did not like it. I mean, Dad's like, you're doing a 30-minute bike ride, and I'm like, okay. And it was going for a run, okay. But when it came around, I'm like, all right, we'll do 1,000 laps.
When you're on the bike, exactly.
Let's do 100 laps. Like, whatever kind of motos you want to do, let's do. So, got ready, raced the Winter Ams, had a lot of good races, a lot of good wins. I met the Medaglia brothers at one of the races. At that time, I think Tyler or Jeremy was one of the reigning Canadian MX champions. So raced them and had a lot of fun, man. Just felt like I was gaining momentum moving into the Spring Nationals, which the first one was at Mill Creek. Went there, and what came with the Team Green deal was they prepared you a full race bike, and you showed up. And it was, basically
they were waiting on you.
Closest thing to factory. And yep, it was waiting on me. Got there, rode it. As a new bike felt a little stiff. Mm-hmm. So we were able to change some things, and we had some good motos. I don't think I was able to win any titles at Mill Creek. Just it seemed like all of 2011, it was like I was close.
Just couldn't quite.
Yeah, it just wasn't quite like winning the championships. Like Bogle really had a breakout year that year because after he had a lot of success, he got the Geico ride. So me and him were neck and neck. But I just always felt like at the end of the moto, he was just a little bit ahead of me. So,
right.
But I was beating the Zach. He would get me a couple of motos here and there. But overall, I was like I got to be better than the other two guys.
Right,
Zach
the other two Team Green
Brad.
guys.
At the end of the year, came up, got second at Loretta's in 450A. Had a couple bad motos in 250. I think I had a bike malfunction, and I went down one time pretty bad. But overall stats, I came out to be the better guy that year.
Right.
And man, when Loretta's was over, it was like it's just like a big ball like dropped. Like I know, moving through the amateurs, my dad was rough on me. He had gotten in several altercations with a lot of high up people, and I can't sit here and say that hurt me or helped me. I'm not sure. No one has ever come out and said, "Hey, Jacob, this is why we did not give you that opportunity." But it was tough, man. Like Bogle went and raced. Unadilla was his first national, and I remember going there. I drove there and watched, and tried talking to Mitch, and just didn't seem interested in even giving me a tryout. I mean, at that point, I was like, "Can I at least try?"
Just try to prove myself.
Yeah, go to the practice track, break out the stopwatch. Let's try to do something. And he just wasn't interested in, it was tough. It was really, really tough. He had worked all these years. I'd race Loretta's from 03 to 11, and it was like, now you're just stuck here with nothing. Not with nothing, but no ride moving forward.
Yeah, to be as prestigious as you were in the amateur rankings, especially. I mean, like you said, Team Green is arguably, especially back then, one of the pinnacles of amateur teams. And yeah, to do the work that you guys did, and then to kind of be told you were going to have this at the end of it and not have it, it's got to be demoralizing. I mean, I can only imagine what it does for your confidence and your desire to keep training and keep suffering like you have to be successful. And so, yeah, I can only imagine the toll that it would take.
Yeah, it was tough. And moving forward, I didn't know what to do. My dad didn't know what to do. Obviously, that brought out a lot of anger between me, him. So at the end of that year, obviously throughout my years of racing amateurs, I knew that there was money was being made. I didn't know to exact dollar amounts. I knew we sold motorcycles to get to the next race and stuff like that. But, I was like, hey, is there any money where I can try to maybe do my own thing? He's like, no, there's nothing, and I was pretty caught back by that, or brought back by that. I mean, I was just like, you're telling me out of everything that we've gone through, and I was riding for Fox, and I was riding for Smith goggles and Kawasaki and KTM, and I mean, I was doing well.
Right.
I know.
Yeah, it's not like you were struggling.
Exactly.
Like you were putting in some serious results.
I was winning championships, and it was just weird. And me and him got in just big argument. And I just said, man, if I'm going to continue a race, I don't want you to come around. And obviously, as a dad, growing up with his son, take him to the races, that's not what you want to hear. And obviously, that's not what I wanted, but after the circumstances that had been played out and looking into my future, I felt like I needed to make the break to stand on my own 2 feet and see what I could do myself. And so that was 2011. At the end of that year, I tried to just get any kind of ride that I could. Moving into the pros, I ended up getting a KTM ride, just with a privateer team. Started getting on the motorcycle in 2012, raced a couple here or there, arena crosses. Felt pretty good on the motorcycle.
Did you feel like you had something to prove? Like when you got back on a bike, did you feel like you were trying to not necessarily shut everybody else up, but to almost say, like, look at what you missed out on? Or did you feel like I'm just going to try to just get anything I can and just do the best I can? Or did you feel like there was almost a chip on your shoulder to try to show, like, you should have taken me?
At that time, no, I can't sit there and say when I got that KTM ride, I'm like, I'm going to prove all these dudes wrong. I don't know where my head was. Right. I really don't. I think I was just, it was all I knew was to ride dirt bikes. That's all I wanted in life. And I just wanted to get to the next step. So it was just kind of like get out there and see what I could do. And I'm not sure why I started at Budds Creek. It just so happened I started that year at Budds Creek. And, man, I will be the first to tell you, anything you do in the amateurs will never prepare you for what is to come in the pros. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there. Even in amateurs, it's dog-eat-dog, but the professional ranks is something that I was not ready for at all. I went to Budds Creek and got my butt whooped. I could not believe that those guys could ride that fast for 35-plus minutes. And I'm going to tell you, at the end of the day, I was demoralized. My body was done. I couldn't hold on. I couldn't stand up. I was cramping. I mean, I was beyond.
Just worn out.
Yeah. I was like, what just happened? This is like, I mean, the longest moto I'd done was Loretta's 20 minutes. And
I mean, in theory, 10 minutes more is not that much, but the intensity, especially like through that whole time, is just so. Whether you're in first or last, you're battling with people the whole time.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're definitely not the first person that said like it's a rude awakening when you get to those pro levels, and so.
So I continued racing. had a couple good motos. Had a really good moto at Redbud. I got 14th one moto, and I was trying. I was riding at Club MX during the week and just really trying to learn how to work hard. You know, that's weird to say. I was that far in my career and I hadn't really learned how to work hard up into that point. But I was trying to just grind it out through the week and learn what it took to be a professional. And I was getting a little bit better. I had some okay motos and some okay overall finishes, but nothing to where I thought I would be. I know I had no expectations, but I did think I was going to be somewhere close to the top 10,
right?
Especially coming off of amateurs the way I did. But yeah, just ended the season, and it was just like, wow. I mean, I in my opinion, I did nothing good enough to get a next ride. You know what I mean? Get the next step. So 2013 came around, and my buddy Michael Mitchell, longtime friend, family friend, grown up just around forever, was like, man, I'll help you get a motorcycle. I've got a group of guys, which Dean Sarver at SRS and Cal Northrup at FTI Racing. We could maybe get you something to where you could go racing. And I'm like, heck yeah, let's try to do it. And made a deal with those guys and got a couple bikes and started riding and racing again, you know, local arena crosses and doing just local money races, just trying to make a couple dollars.
Right, just trying to get some cash.
Yep. And, you know, at this point, I'm still not really getting along with my dad. We would talk here and there. I would try to fix the relationship and just wasn't working out. And moving forward, wanted to go try to do my my first supercross, and right before it, I was riding a 125, messing around, actually my championship bike, and I was on an arena cross track and went over the bars and broke my collarbone. So that kind of was like, okay, well, you're not going to race supercross. And I got back healthy, and I wanted to try to at least go to St. Louis and
just see what you could do.
Yeah, see what it was about. Free practice, I laid all over the ground. I ended up breaking my wrist in free practice. I cracked, I want to say, I'm not exactly sure what bone it is, but I cracked a little bone in my wrist in free practice. But I'm like, I'm going to continue to go. It didn't hurt that bad.
Right.
I was sore. Continued to lay all over the ground in the next practice. And the next practice, I ended up going over the handlebars and re-breaking the same collarbone again. So that was a wash. I mean,
just sounds like that wasn't meant to be, right?
Yeah, I was just like, again, I'd never seen a supercross track, and I was riding on arena cross tracks at home, but supercross track is a completely different skill set, it's up there.
Right.
And they were like, look, we want you to try a couple outdoors on a 450. And I'm like, heck yeah, all right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Dean at SRS, Michael Mitchell, and Cal Northrup at FTI got some stuff together, and I went and tried my first one at Muddy Creek. It was the first year that they had came with the national at Muddy Creek. And
so that'd be a whole national, too.
Yeah, it's 3 hours away. So I was like, heck yeah, I'd raced Muddy Creek plenty of times, won a lot of state championships there. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I went there and did not qualify to practice, so I had to race the last chance qualifier, and crashed in the first turn and came back to sixth. They take 4, so I rode really good in the last chance qualifier. So I was like, that kind of gave me a little bit of hope that I could. Things just didn't go right in practice. Maybe I should try again. So raced High Point the very next weekend, and was running 12th or 13th, and 20 minutes came around and just threw the anchor out. Just, again, my fitness was just not there, and 450 is very demanding, and that class was extremely fast. But my speed was there. So it was just like, I was always, like that carrot was getting dangled in front of me, like, hey, your speed's there, but maybe you need to start working a little harder.
Somewhere else. Yeah.
So I'm like, all right. Went to Buzz Creek, same thing, was riding good and then dropped back. And I'm like, dang, man. So that was it. Those guys were like, look, man, we really like you and we really want to help you, but it's pretty expensive, so
right.
we're not going to be able to continue. And I'm like, all right. I remember having a talk with Michael Mitchell at the end of 2013. I'm like, I think I'm done, man. I think I need to, at this point, go to college. You know what I mean?
Really?
Yeah. was not really seemed like anything left for me. I had no money. I was working at a local track called MX 421. I was helping water and plow the track, and just trying to make a couple dollars, man. I mean, I had nothing. I had no money. Still living at home. I mean, honestly, I had nothing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I felt very, very down. I mean, it's crazy to say this, but I just felt like I had wasted all my life racing, and at this point I didn't know what to do.
Well, and I mean, I think something that a lot of people don't think about, especially those people that don't follow the sport as closely as someone like us do, is like amateur motocross people, like you are giving everything. Like you're giving your social life, you know. I don't know whether you went the homeschooling route or anything like that, but I mean, you know, you hear these stories about people that leave school in 5th or 6th grade to be homeschooled, and I mean, you take it to a whole new level. It really is a lifestyle from an early childhood for you guys. And I mean, kind of like what you were saying, you made Loretta's every single year from 2003 to 2011, and you were doing all of the other amateur nationals as well. To be that dedicated and to consistently show up, and like you were saying, you were putting in the good results, and then to be that far in your career and really not have anything to show for it, I can only imagine. You know, it's just how long can you go? How much can you take?
Exactly, and it wasn't like, you know, I was an only child, and I was going to the races with mom and dad. I mean, I have a big family. I have 4 sisters, so I have 1 older and 3 younger, and they were getting not dragged to the races. I don't want to say dragged, but they were going to the races, cheering me on, you know, throughout my whole amateur career. I mean, it was mom, dad, all 4 sisters, and myself load up in the motorhome and go racing. And, you know, as a kid, seemed awesome, and it was awesome, man. I wouldn't change anything. I mean, I would change little things, like I wish I would have worked harder and off the motorcycle. Right. But you know, there's always things you're gonna look back on life and say, hey, darn it, you know, I wish I'd have changed that. I think even right now I would do that. You know what I mean? So it was tough. It put a big strain on just everyone, my sisters, my mom, my dad, myself, and moving throughout my amateur career, and then trying to turn pro, and it still wasn't working. It just, me and my dad weren't getting along. My oldest sister had moved out at this point, and you know what I mean? I was homeschooled throughout this whole thing, and yeah, it was a lot. Everyone was kind of bitter with me, you know what I mean? And it didn't feel like they were bitter at me. It just kind of felt like they were bitter with me. And then, you know, I was kind of disconnected at this point. I was just, I don't know what I was doing. I really couldn't tell you. Like I said, I was working at a local track, helping plow and water. And I mean, I remember being out there watering the track, and this guy come up to me and was like, man, aren't you Jacob Hayes? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, what the heck are you doing? I'm like, plowing and watering the track.
What I can.
Yeah, man, trying to make $1. And he was like, all right. And it just seemed like he was kind of like,
puzzled by it.
What are you doing? And I'm like, so it was tough. And I'm, like I said, I remember talking to Michael, and I'm like, man, I'm going to have to start something. Start something. I'm going to have to start somewhere. You know, like it felt like rock bottom had become my best friend at that point. It just felt like I was down there slumming at the bottom, and I was just like used to it. So I was just head down, and he was like, man, what do you think you could do any kind of racing? I'm like, well, I had been watching the Amsoil Arenacross series pretty closely. I had watched Tyler Bowers growing up racing, and knew he was in there really winning a lot and doing really well for himself. And throughout my whole career, I was racing, you know, I remember racing, I don't think it was called the Amsoil Arenacross, but I went to the Greensboro Arenacross and raced on 50 and won. So I'd known what Arenacross was. Right. And in 12, I raced a lot of Arenacross. 13, I raced a lot of Arenacross in the winter. So he's like, well, if I bought you a motorcycle, do you think you could maybe go and do good at one of them? I'm like, I think so. The first 5 were close. It was like Worcester, Massachusetts. It was Baltimore, Maryland, Pennsylvania, and then Greensboro. So sorry, the first 4 were close. And then it was Madison, Wisconsin. Yeah. Okay. So it's 5 within driving distance,
right? Where
I wasn't driving, you know,
to the other side of the country.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we looked it out, and told myself, look, man, this is it. like, this is it. You just need to go out there and hang it all out. This is your last chance to do anything on a dirt bike. And I was racing the races leading into Amsoil Arenacross. I raced, I think, 3 of them. And Michael's buddy, Kobe Adams with Adams Performance, was like, hey, man, I'll buy you a motorcycle. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah, I'd like you to see you do good. I build motors, so let me buy the motorcycle, and I'll build the motor, and it can be your race bike. I'm like, okay. And then Brewer Cycles with Tyler Brewer and Chris Brewer, they were like, well, we'll help you out with parts and stuff on the practice bike. I'm like, all right. So Brewer Cycles had came in. I still obviously had a long relationship with Pro Circuit. They helped me with some stuff. And I remember driving to the first round. I went by myself. Michael couldn't go. And like I said, at this point, I was just me.
Just had to show up, yeah.
And I went there, and the bike looked bone stock. It just had number plate graphics, and I had a stock pipe, and I remember I had a recluse clutch in it. And I did just that. I swung for the fences. I ended up getting third the very first night, and it was an extremely rutted track. There was no whoops. They were like rollers because the dirt was so soft. And I even won the head-to-head. They have a 2-man head-to-head 2-lap dash.
Right.
And I even won that. I mean, I beat Tyler Bowers, and everyone's like, who is this kid? And, well, some people were like, who is this kid? Other people was like, oh, is that the
that's Jacob guy. Yeah.
So talk about going from 0 to hero quick. That's what happened. That first night I got third. I remember I walked up to the Babbitt's team after that night was over because they said that they had put, lime in the dirt and it was going to ruin my frame. And I'm like, it's not even my bike. I got to get this thing clean.
Figure something out. Yeah.
Like, because obviously the Babbitt's guys were washing theirs. And I'm like, I went up to the team manager and owner, Denny Bartz. I'm like, hey, man, so, like, do you think I could maybe borrow your pressure washer or wash this bike off? He's like, yeah, when they're done, when the guys are done. I'm like, okay. Stay late. I mean, you got to think, we were racing, like, we were probably done with the main event at 10 o'clock. Well, the mechanics stayed late.
Yeah.
Well, I even stayed later than mechanics to wash my bike. And I put new clutches in for the next day. And I show up the next day, and it was like everyone wanted to be my best friend. I was on track while people were doing interviews, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just here doing my own thing. And they're like, where'd you come from? I'm like, my house in North Carolina, And that night, I remember, Friday night, Tyler pushed me around quite a bit because leading into the season, I guess someone caught wind of it. I'm kind of backpedaling now, but I got to give you this backstory. Racer X kind of got a hold that I was going to race Arenacross.
Right.
And they did an interview with me, and I said word for word that I'm going to go in there and bang bars with the best.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the first night, I guess Tyler didn't like that. One of the main events, I believe the second one, I was winning, and he came up and he gave me a good little bump, and I went down, and he sat on the podium. He read the interview and said I was going to bang bars with the best, and he wanted to show me
what was up.
Yeah, he wanted to show me how to bang bars. So I was like, all right. So the next night, I was in third. Mike McDay was winning. Tyler Bowers was in second. I saw my opportunity to bang bars with the best. So I went there and banged bars with the best, laid both of us on the ground, and just got it going there. I was just like, welcome to Arenacross.
Absolutely.
He welcomed me, and then I let him know real quick that
you were ready to play the game.
Yeah, it wasn't going to go. It wasn't a one-way street. This sucker goes both ways. So laid it down and put both of us on the ground. I honestly thought I was going to get, I can't say beat up, but I thought I was going to get in a fight.
Get in some trouble,
Yeah, when we got off the track because you pushed through the tunnel, I remember I kept my goggles on, I kept my helmet on, I kept my head down. I'm like, all right, here we go.
Here's it coming.
Yep. Yeah, what's going to happen? I was looking around. No one said nothing. I'm like, all right. So I got obviously a bad finish in Arenacross if you get a bad finisher on the second row. So I remember lining up, and Bowers came up late to the gate, and he lined up right beside me. And he slapped me on the arm, and he's like, dude, you're riding so good. I remember thinking in my head, what is wrong with this guy? I'm like, please drop the gate so I can just get away from him.
Some type of mental game.
Yeah, I'm like, what did he just say? I just took you out. So I was like all kind of just screwed up in the head. So I went out there and just got the weekend over with. And, man, I was in like when it was all said and done, I think I was in like 4th or 5th in points after round 1. And no one in a million years would have ever guessed Jacob Hayes, who hadn't shown anything really in 2 years. I was basically completely off everyone's radar, would go there and get on the podium, and then the next night take Tyler Bowers out, of all people, the reigning champ. Big number 1 on his plate. I don't think anyone would have ever expected that. So
it always kind of seems like when your back's up against the wall, you're tied with 5 other guys in the final moto at Loretta's, or this is your last effort to really make a name for yourself. It seems like you tend to do well in the underdog or the high pressure situation. Do you feel comfortable in those situations? Do you feel like when it's time to go and when it's time to show up, you show up and you perform? Or do you really not like those situations where it's like, I wish it was just almost a little bit easier? But you clearly seem to do well in those situations. So I think it's got to be something that you feel is an attribute to your skill set.
I wouldn't say I enjoy being like put up against the wall and like this is
make or break,
do or die. But I do well in pressure situations. I felt like, with everything I learned as an amateur and at this point I'm going home and working my tail off and then showing up in an arena cross, like I don't want to fool you guys at all. At the end of 2013 leading into 14, like I was grinding, like riding every chance I could, going to any race I could. Making the money at that race and spending it to get to the next race and training off the bike. I was doing everything. I was working out at CrossFit, and man, that changed me as a person. I was like, dude, this is pretty sweet. Like I'm getting ripped. I'm riding fast.
Ladies aren't complaining.
Exactly.
Bike's going well.
I'm riding fast. It was going good. So I was working my tail off, and that's what I felt like I was always missing, was that desire to work hard off the bike. And it was proven that on the motorcycle it was being beneficial. So kids, if you want to work hard, you got to do it. It was going really good. So the next weekend was Baltimore, Maryland, and everyone the whole week was like, this Jacob Hayes kid thinks he just comes to one arena cross and does good, that he thinks he's some arena cross rider. It was all over Instagram, man. It was just like, he thinks, wait till he gets to a real arena cross track. I'm like, all right, guys, you'll see.
Right.
So I came over to Baltimore. It was a big track. It was it was like 5 lanes, including the start. I wouldn't say after all my years of racing arena cross, it was the biggest set of arena cross whoops, but it was a good set of whoops. And the dirt was really slick, and me and Michael drove there in his van. I obviously didn't have a vehicle.
Right.
So, in the first round, I caught a ride with someone. So
really,
yeah, caught a ride. Yeah.
Hitchhiking up there to compete against the best. Yeah,
caught a ride, he drove me up in his van. And the first night, I went out for first practice, and what do you think I did? Crashed in the whoops immediately, like cartwheeled in the whoops. The very first lap I went through the whoops. So I'm scared. I'm like, what if they were right? You know what I mean? What if I can't do this? So the first night I was just in the back. I was in the top 10, but not where I was the weekend before. And I remember everyone at the end of that night was like, now we see what he's really about. So I went to bed that night, and I'm like, screw this, man. I can do this. Well, we go to the track the next day, and Michael's like, hey, man, how long have you had this tire pressure gauge? I'm like, I don't know, a while. It's been working.
Right.
He's like, your tire feels low. I'm like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. It works. I go check it. It says 12. Good. Hit the track.
Says 12 means 12. Yep.
Exactly. So he's like, well, I'm going to test someone else's out. He went and borrowed a tire pressure gauge from someone else, and just so happens it was like 6 pounds off. So like the night before, we ended up running 6 pounds of pressure in my rear tire and front, because I was running 12 front and rear. So he's like, dude, that's got to be why. Like I was washing out everywhere. Like I was like darn near crashing, just going straight. Don't know how I didn't feel like I got a flat, but like at this time, like I'm just absolutely sending it because I know this is my last chance. So like that never crossed my mind. I'm just like, wow, you suck now. And he put 12 pounds in the very next day with a new air gauge or tire gauge, and I was riding a lot better. Felt good in practice. I think
this feels a little more like,
I'm like, this is way better. I think I qualified really good. Got ready for the heat race. Won my heat race. I'm like, all right, boys, now we're talking.
Game on.
Yeah. Got ready for the first main event. Won the first main event. I got off first. Tyler Bowers got off second. Zach Ames third. They were close. I think it was like a second and a half, but they never got any closer. And I come over the finish line, and let me tell you, I was beyond stoked. I did like a quadruple fist pump. Like, I about broke the handlebars off that sucker when I landed. I had to like kind of get it all back together. I was holding the bike wide open, darn near blowing it up. For just a main event win, it just felt, like what I had all been through, like all the emotions started pouring out. But in Arenacross, you had 2 main events, so I was like, heck, let's do this again. Like, I felt that good.
Right.
So I went off the start, big pile up in the first turn, went down. Didn't get up to a good position, just the main event didn't play out the way I wanted it to, but left there with a main event win. My first one at a race that everyone thought that I wasn't going to be able to do it. And I'm like, showed you guys. So maybe the next weekend I was the talk again. Everyone's like, oh man, he really showed what he's got. He's in this for the long haul. And at this point, I'm still only doing 4 races. Because that's all the budget is that I'm not even paying for. I'm not paying, at this point now that I'm racing, Arenacross pays very well. Feld paid very well. So I was able to make it to the next round without Michael or Adam's performance helping me. And so we went to Pennsylvania. And, man, it was a tough track. It was weird. I mean, I got like 6th or 7th overall. It was okay. It was just a weird track. And the next weekend was my home race in Greensboro, North Carolina. And I remember after Pennsylvania that the Ty Lube Tough Racing Honda team called me. And they're like, hey, man, we got Kyle Regal riding for us at this time. We were supposed to have Teddy Mayer on the bike, but he's hurt. Do you think you could fill in? So I immediately was like, I don't know. Let me check with these people. So I called Michael, all the people that were helping me out. And they were like, man, when does he want you to change? Called him back. When do you want me to change? I want you to race in Greensboro. Called everyone back to like, man, this is like our home race. Like, this is like kind of what we're like.
Why we got into it.
Like we want to help you because you're a local kid. Call the guy back. I'm like, man, I'm not going to be able to do it for Greensboro. He goes, well, can you at least come test the bike before Greensboro to see if you like it? I'm like, man, I'm riding a Kawasaki. You're a Honda. Like, that's a big difference. What do you do as a kid? No choice. Went and did it anyways. Went and rode the Honda anyways. Right before Greensboro, I went to south of the border, tested it out all day, rode all day. I think more laps than I had ridden in a long, long time. I was pumped. Bike was unbelievably
felt
fast.
Good right off the bat.
I was like, wow. So went to Greensboro, and man, I was so nervous walking the track. I was talking to everyone. Everyone's like, man, dude, you're gonna kill it tonight. You're gonna crush it. And I'm like, dude, this is okay.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to do good, and I went out in the heat race. I qualified like 4th or 5th. Went out in the heat race, and I'm talking like when I didn't choke. But I got out front, and immediately Tyler passed me, and another guy passed me, and like was just riding so tight. Like, it was just like the
Things started happening
whole
quick.
arena felt like it was sitting on my shoulders. Like, I just got so uptight. And I came back, and Michael's like, man, what are you doing? Like, what? You're not even riding like yourself. And I'm like, I'm nervous.
Yeah.
Like, he goes, what do you mean you're nervous, man? You've done all this stuff up to this point. This should be one of the best nights of your life. And it really hit home. I was like, all right, maybe I should just go out there and have fun and let the rest do its talking. And I went out in the head-to-head challenge and won that, and that got the wheels going. That really got the wheels on the bus going, and went out in the first main event and won that by a good margin. And with winning the head-to-head, that gave me extra points, so I had really been sitting pretty for the overall, for my first overall in front of my hometown crowd. And going to the line for that second one, I felt so good. Like, there was no nerves. I was like calm, cool, collected. I was like, I can do this again. Got off the start, was second. The guy in front of me, Colt Nichols, was not any in contention to battle me for the overall, and I knew I just stayed there, I would win the overall. So I went 1-2 and won my first overall in front of my hometown crowd. And man, I tell you what, that was unbelievable. I mean, just the emotional roller coaster from doing well in amateurs and then hitting rock bottom. And like I said, rock bottom was my best friend, it felt like. And then going to the first round and going up, and then the second round crashing. And it's just like it was a big emotional roller coaster. And I felt like that was the cherry on top. And then obviously immediately after that, Honda called me. They're like, what are you going to do?
Right.
At this point, I'm like, dude, I don't want to turn my back against the guys that have gotten me to this point. So we tried with Michael. We looked at flights. I mean, obviously we were going way out west at this point. We had raced, all the local ones that we said we could drive to. And the people were just not going to be able to financially support me to go out west and do what it took and travel with the motorcycle and do all that. So I had to make the tough choice to step back and leave those guys behind and go with the Honda team that I was allowed to go to every single race. And I had to make this jump in a week's time. So I raced Greensboro. This all was happening during the week, and then I had to race that next weekend. So I showed up, had not ridden all week, and had to race the Honda. And I won both my heat races. I got on the podium right off the bat on a bike I'd never ridden before in my life.
Did you feel comfortable right off the bat on that? I mean, like, I know you said you had spun all those laps. Did it kind of click initially off the back, or was there some struggles?
I felt great on the motorcycle itself. I actually was able to talk those guys into allowing me to bring my own suspension, which was nice. And it kind of clicked. I don't think really much could have stopped me that year, honestly.
Right.
Like, as weird as that sounds, like I was so focused on making it, just period, making it. Like,
just pure determination.
Yeah,
basically.
literally.
Yeah.
Like, it did not matter if I was on the ground or what. I was gonna make it. It was all or nothing at that point. And me and Bowers got in it again. I took 2 people out that weekend. And just getting to the front, man, it was, like I said, do or die. And I was winning one of the main events, and, I mean, I wasn't the best in the whoops, but it was do or die.
Right.
I held on no matter what, everything I had in me. And he come up behind me so quick that he hit me in the back, and I ended up cartwheeling, and he flipped, and we both went down really, really hard. And he come back, and he's screaming at me that, I need to go back to amateur racing and blah, 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 all this stuff. So we had some bad blood. You know what I mean? I think he saw that I had what it took to maybe
dethrone the king.
Yeah, maybe get up to his level. And just throughout the season, obviously had my ups and downs. I had a lot of wins, a lot of overall wins, and I was just gaining momentum. And as weird as it sounds, I felt like I could maybe contest for my first ever professional title.
Yeah.
My first year. And I was gelling well with the team. I was gelling well with my teammate Kyle Regal. One of the rounds got snowed out, and I couldn't get home. So Kyle's like, man, just come stay at my house in Texas for a couple weeks. Spent a couple weeks in Texas with Regal and had a lot of fun. And we just rode. And, man, I was riding like the emotional wave that was going. Like, each weekend I was getting more confident, more wins. And, I mean, like, it was just like, my raw ability was coming out, and I was working hard, and it was all flowing.
Things were starting to fall into place.
Yeah. I mean, people were paying attention to me again, and giving me the credibility that I felt I had deserved all along. And this is crazy. At that time, I was like, man, I don't think I would ever get a ride with the Babbitt's team, which was the most prestigious team in Arenacross. I didn't feel like after spending all my years on Kawasaki, them never giving me an opportunity with Pro Circuit, I didn't feel like they would ever give me an opportunity with a prestigious team like that. And at the final round in Salt Lake City, I finished second overall in the championship, and Michael was there, and Ryan Holiday, the manager and for Team Green, was there, and he goes, Jacob, you got to go talk to that guy and ask him if he would consider you for a ride for Babbitt's, because, man, they were a powerhouse. And I was like, no, man, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm 20 years old at this time. I'm like, I'm scared.
Was there some fear of rejection in there?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I didn't want to go up to him, and he knew who I was. I dealt with him for many years, and after not getting the opportunity, like, I was just like, I don't want him to turn me down, or I didn't know what he was going to say.
Right.
So Michael ended up talking me into going up to him. I went up to him, and I was like, hey, man, I just want to drop what had happened in the past. hopefully we can leave it in the past and move forward. And I would be grateful for an opportunity if you had one available. And obviously this is in May. They don't race Arenacross till January, so all off season, Honda let me keep a bike. I raced a lot of local races, and man, I was still riding that emotional wave. I had a great off season. I had a lot of fun with all my friends and family, and I didn't ever really mend things back up with my dad. It just it never really got back to where it was in the amateurs, where he was kind of by my side at all times. He never came to a single race that year in 2014.
Really?
Yeah, and my mom came to, obviously, Greensboro, but that was the only one that they made it out to. And I was really starting to become my own person, my own man, and everyone was starting to kind of see me as Jacob Hayes, not Jacob Hayes and his family.
Right.
And I wouldn't say I always set out for it to be like that. I didn't set out for it to be like, hey, I want it to be just Jacob Hayes. I mean, I obviously wanted my family to come along and enjoy the process with me, because they grew up with me and saw the struggles, and we all went through it together. So, like I said, we just never really mended the relationship, and so just worked out through that year and just had a lot of good times in the summer. Hung out with a lot of family and friends, and I remember someone calling me, and they're like, "Hey, have you heard from Babbitt's?" I'm like, "Guys, it's not gonna happen.
No,
guys. It's just no." I hadn't, so it's not gonna happen. And I had several Arenacross teams just blowing my phone up.
Really?
Yeah, I had the Tyler guys obviously were wanting to re-sign me. A couple of new teams, like a Yamaha team was gonna start up, a Husqvarna team was gonna start up, and I was like, all right. I was kind of juggling through all of them, and then sure enough, I remember getting the phone call, and the team manager, Denny Bartz, called me. And he's like, would you be willing to ride for me? And it couldn't come out of my mouth soon enough. I said, yes. He's like, all right, well, I want to get you on the team, and I really, really like what you have to offer. I mean, this is early. Like, I'm talking way early. We're still summer.
Right.
Like, we're still in summer. And
it's not even like preseason yet.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like, we're still summer. Like, I was hanging out by the pool at this time, and I'm like, okay. So I called some people around. I'm like, has Bauer signed? They're like, no. I think you're going to be the first one to sign. I'm like, what? Well, then I don't know if Bauer's caught wind of that or what. But he obviously, I don't know if he didn't want to be my teammate or just whatever. He was not pumped on he wasn't feeling that. So he inked a deal with the pro circuit. So he stepped to supercross, which that's awesome, man. That's good for him.
Yeah,
I was
absolutely
pumped for him. But so the number one guy stepped out, number two guy stepped in. So I automatically came number one guy on Babbitt's overnight, man. It was just like at the beginning of 2014, this was going one race at a time, may quit, may not quit, to at the end of 2014 being the number one guy on Babbitt's, the most prestigious team in Arenacross. So, like, talk about a roller coaster right there, man.
Yeah,
like,
0 to 100.
Literally.
Like, just like that. Yeah.
Like, that's how quick things can change just with, in my opinion, determination, heart, and just never saying no and never giving up on your dreams. You know what I mean? And I believe that, if you set your mind to something, you really, it's going to take a lot to stop that.
Well, and there's a level of self-belief that you have to have that I think a lot of people, give into the demons kind of in the back of their head, whereas, you've always, it seems like, yes, you have those demons, but you choose to not listen to them and just go for it, and whatever happens. And it seems like when you do that, you wind up being the number one guy on the number one team in Arenacross. And so, that definitely pays off, just to never quit and, believing that you've got it.
Yeah, it was crazy, and I ended up signing the contract, and I was stoked. I was like, this is what I've always wanted. Like, the wheels were starting to get back going again. So, started getting ready for the new season. Went out to California and started testing. Had never ridden Supercross in California. I'm like taking pictures, selfies, you know what I mean? Just soaking it all in.
Absolutely, yeah.
On the best team, testing with pro circuit at literally the Kawasaki test track that I've seen Villapoto and just Townley and so many guys ride there. Blake Baggett, Dean Wilson. I mean, just you can name them. And I'm like, I'm riding the same track as these guys. Like, this is rad. So was testing, getting ready. And, I mean, dude, no one had to say it. I already knew, like, I was the guy to beat in 2015. You didn't even have to say it. I knew it. Like, it was already
just understood. Yeah.
Understood. Knew it. Knew what I was hired to do, which was win a championship for them. So I knew I needed to take training even more serious than I already had. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna look into hiring Travis Preston, longtime professional rider, rode for Factory Honda, won a 125 lights title in Supercross. So I'm like, got in touch with him through Michael Mitchell. He helped me, get the contact there. And
because Preston was doing some riding schools at that time around here, right?
Yep. Got in touch with him. He's like, can you come out to California? I said, absolutely. At this point, from all the money that I made in 2014, I bought the van from Michael. So I had a vehicle first time in 2014. So I was 20 years old. Was my first ever vehicle.
Wow.
Yep. Bought it myself. Gave him cash. Said, here you go, man. I mean, that was. I thought I hit the lottery.
That's a cool moment, though.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I immediately bought the van, bought rims, bought tires, bought
Tricked
a system.
it out.
Yeah, why not? So, I mean, this is crazy, but I had made a lot of money that year for a 20-year-old. I mean, it was a lot. I think I made upwards of 50 to 80, and I was like bawling. I'm talking like, to me, from going to making $100 working on a track to 50 to 80, I was like, yes, like, let's go buy everything.
Yep.
But I did not go too crazy. I bought a reasonable vehicle that would allow me to continue to move around and train and take the motorcycle. I didn't go buy a freaking brand new car or whatever. So I bought the van for $6,000, so it was not that expensive.
Yeah, not too crazy. Yeah.
Bought the rims and tires for about $1,400. Got a good deal, so I was like, all right, we're doing good. Was going to the lake with my buddy. He's like, man, you should buy a wakeboard. What? Heck yeah, let's swipe the card. We got plenty of money. So at this time, I'm just enjoying life.
Yeah.
Like, I'm back on a high again, and got some money, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to drive to California. I'm going to give it everything I have again. And was right after Halloween. I made the drive to California and started training right after Halloween. So that's, October, November, yeah. Mm-hmm. So pretty early, in my opinion, to start training for Arenacross. So got out there and really started doing a lot of testing with the team. Started learning a lot with training. I mean, we were going deeper than I had ever gone before with heart rate, rest, gym. I mean, I was really getting in.
That's one of the things I was going to ask was how much different was it when you were on Preston's program as compared to like the year before? Because I mean, obviously your fitness was getting better, and like you said, you were really starting to work for it. Mm-hmm. But like obviously like nowadays you hear about Alden Baker and how precise and calculated his programming is. Was there a huge difference between what you were doing and then what Preston had you start doing?
I would say, yeah. I mean, at that point, I was working hard, but I was still eating and doing whatever I wanted to do eating-wise. And it's kind of a full circle. You got to eat right. You got to train right. You got to train smart. Can't overtrain. And then you got to obviously do the riding the right way. So got there, and everything started really kind of coming together. I started riding really good. I felt really good on the motorcycle. I mean, I was riding the factory Kawasaki test track with Josh Grant, Will Hahn. I mean, a bunch of people. I was out there with the pro circuit guys. Like, I was on a high.
Right.
And going into round one, I mean, showing up with a big number 2 on my plate because you had to run what you got the previous year. It might as well have said number 1.
Right.
That's what everyone
People
thought.
understood,
Number
yeah.
1 guy was not there, so I was the next in line. And Kyle Riegel had gotten 4th in 2014. He was riding for the same team, which was the Ty Lube. They turned into a Husky team.
Okay.
So Ty Lube Husky. And he was kind of like your number 2. And first round, I was so nervous. I mean, you would have thought that I had never raced a day in my life. Like, I was so nervous. I don't know if it was just putting pressure on myself because it wasn't coming from the team. That, like I said, they didn't say anything about you have to be winning every single race. It was just I felt it myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With a big team like that comes expectations. You know what I mean? So I went on the heat race. Immediately, I qualified first in practice, smoked everyone in practice, and then the heat race got the whole shot and was winning. And I don't know if something went wrong with the front tire, but I ended up crashing, and I was in second. And it was just like I had 2 laps to go, and it was like, oh, that's not good enough. I'm winning this heat race. And I ran into the back of Regal. He took over the lead when I went down, and ended up not even qualifying out of the heat race. So it went from like bad to worse.
Yeah.
So I went to the LCQ. I had never even been in the LCQ in 14, my rookie season. So I'm in the LCQ, my very first debut ride on the Babbitt team. I'm like, oh my gosh.
This is not what we want.
This is not how I want to start this. So won the LCQ, got to the main event, and the first one ended up going down on the first lap, and it was just a nightmare. I got 10th. And I'm like, wow. We need to regroup here. Like, we need to show something at round 1. So I went out the next one and worked my way through and won the last main event. So end of the night on a high. Qualified first in practice and then won the last main event. So I was kind of...
Had something to walk away with positive.
Exactly. Yeah. People were like, it wasn't a complete just disaster.
Yeah, the 10th was more the fluke than the one.
Yeah. So just went back to California, regrouped, got ready for the next round. Was working my way through the pack again, and ended up making a bad call and landing on Kyle Regal, and I injured my shoulder. Like, I crashed bad, really bad. Just tried to muster through, and it just felt like I started kind of gaining momentum, got the red plate. My teammate was Matt Gerke. I went to Matt Gerke. I went to Regal. Went back to me. It was kind of all over that year. There was a lot of people, a lot of speed in arena cross that year. And as it started getting towards near the end, I think we were 3 rounds to go, and I was down 15 points. And I remember telling Denny Barch, he's like, "Man, you're gonna have to get it together. Like 15 points in arena cross is a lot.
That's a lot of points.
That's a lot." And we were in Tacoma, Washington. He said, "Man, you're going to have to get it together." He said, like, if you even want a chance at this title, you're going to have to win the head-to-head and both main events. I'm like, all right. I felt good. I knew I could do it. I went out and won the head-to-head and won both main events. I got the whole shot in both of them. I mean, I was a man on a mission that night. I would not be denied the win. I led every single lap, all 30 laps in the main event, and he ended up having a bad night. Kyle did. Kyle was was in the points lead at this time, and I gained 7 points in one night, which is like unheard of, man.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely
massive. So next round, Danny's like, "Dude, you need the same thing, man. You're gonna need the head-to-head and both the main events to even."
Have a chance.
Like, you're still, like, you closed a lot, but, like, that's not going to happen
you're not
twice.
out of the woods yet.
Yeah, it's not going to happen twice. Won the head-to-head, won the first main event. And he had not even made the head-to-head because he messed up in the heat race. So then
This is Regal?
Yeah, this is Regal. I had made up to 6 points. I was 6 points behind him. And after the first main event, I had made up a handful of more points, and at the end of the night, all said and done, I had made up another 7 points. I won the overall again, so I had, I won the head-to-head, won the first main event, got second the second main event, and was tied in the points. Jeez. Leading into the last round. With me and Kyle Regal were tied in points leading into Vegas.
What was y'all's relationship like at this point? Like, throughout that year, did it kind of grow apart more? Like, because I know you said you had spent some time at his house.
Yep.
So was there any bitterness or anything from the separation from the team?
It didn't start out that way. We were still just as close as we were the year before, but as we got deeper into the championship and I made a couple questionable calls, I'm not going to lie. I mean, it was again, do or die. I was going to the front no matter what.
For it,
yeah, I was going to the front. I had taken him out. He had bumped me. I had brake checked him. I mean, I think there's a pretty famous one on TV at Tampa Arenacross. We were in the head-to-head, and I did the whole look back as I locked the brakes up, and he hit me and went down. And yeah, so we started getting a little rivalry going on, and we weren't talking at this point.
Right.
And I mean, I had taken him out. We had brake checked each other. I mean, it seemed like every weekend we were getting back and forth into each other. And the thing that no one really knows about 2015 is while all this was going on, his teammate Gavin Faith was racing as well, which was riding really well. I had bumped him in one of the rounds, and he had told me that if he ever got the chance that I was going to hit the ground. Well, at the race where I was still down 7 points, so this is 2 rounds to go, I bumped him out of the way to get up to second. He ended up going down. So at the end of that night, he said, dude, you better watch your back in Vegas. I'm coming after you. That's the last thing I need to worry about. I'm
definitely not what you want to hear.
I'm tied with the championship. I'm tied in points going for the championship, and now I've got his teammate wanting my head.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, well, going into Vegas, everyone's like, do you, continue to do you. You have a lot of momentum. You've won the last 2 convincingly. You've been the fastest guy. Do you? I'm like, all right.
Much easier said than done.
That's true. So throughout the day, man, I was a nervous wreck. I couldn't even hardly, my palms were sweating. I was sweating. I couldn't eat. Man, I just never been in that position before. It just felt like the world was on my shoulders. I can't even explain the feeling. I just remember every word that came out of my mouth, I just almost was vomiting because I was sick, man. I knew that's what I wanted, but now that it was actually right in front of me, it was just like, holy cow, it was big. And to be tied, not even to have a lead.
Yeah, no cushion or anything.
It wasn't like I was hunting anymore. Like I was not hunting to chase down a points gap. Like I wasn't trying to tighten the gap. I was there. It was kind of on my shoulders at this point. And I didn't win the head-to-head, so that was out. So that was a chance for me to get a point up on him. Neither did he. So we were still tied going into the 2 main events. And the first main event came around, and my teammate Chris Bloss got the lead. Regal was in second. I was in third. And we were just kind of all pacing each other. And, man, Chris went down after the whoops, and Kyle ran over the top of him, and they both went down. And then I ran over the top of both of them because we were coming out of the whoops, and the turn was right there, so it was not a lot of time to break. And ended up getting through there, and I won the first main event. Kyle got second, so I was 1 point ahead of him. So went back to the truck. Well, the main event was over. Came to the podium. My clutch was fried. I had fried my clutch. It needed a brand new clutch. I remember giving it to one of the track workers saying, take this to my team, because they would not let me go back to the truck. They needed to do an interview. I said, take this to the team. I need a new clutch. So they took the bike. I went up on the podium, walked back to the pit. It was a good walk. Walked back to the pit. They had my bike on the side. They were doing the clutches. There was smoke everywhere. I mean, it smelled like burnt clutches.
Right.
Bad. Sat down. I'm just grabbing a couple of waters. I mean, you don't have long in between main events.
Yeah, absolutely.
And my team manager's running around scrambling. He was trying to call, I guess, timing and scoring to see what the points gap was. I mean, there was like, I can't even, like, words will not describe it, how crazy it was after that first main event. And I just remember him looking at me and going, do the same thing. Well, that meant win. That's what I needed to do to win the championship. I had to win. You know what I mean? So I'll tell you after I tell this part of the story. Going to the line, that's all I'm thinking about is winning. I have to beat Kyle. I have to beat Kyle to win the championship. We lined up and we got off the gate, and we were a magnet. It just felt like we were a magnet to each other. We come around the first turn, and like he's not wanting to give me an inch. I'm not wanting to give him an inch.
Absolutely.
We're bumping each other. And as we're going down a tunnel. So he's bumping off the wall into me, bumping off the wall into me, bumping off the wall into me. We come out the tunnel, and we're like in fifth. And I'm right behind him. And we had just basically, I don't know how we saved it. It was honestly, at one point, his hand was over the top of my throttle arm. So my throttle arm was locked because his hand was over the top of it. Like, I mean, I don't know how we stayed
Right.
up. I honestly do not know how we stayed up. I mean, his feet were fine. My feet were fine. It was crazy. I mean, he was honestly bumping off the concrete wall. And we get out, and we go through the whoops, and it was a big left-handed bolt corner before the finish line. And I just saw my opportunity. At this point, this is not a really good skill to have, but at this point, I had gotten really well at taking people out.
Yeah.
I had really kind of mastered how to get it done, and I just did the whole point and shoot, and pulled in the clutch, released, and went for the front tire, and made heavy, and I repeat, heavy contact. And I had to have hit him second gear damn near wide open. And he went flying. I mean, tough blocks went everywhere. His body flew out in front of me, and I was still on my motorcycle. I mean, I don't know how I didn't go down. I hit him so hard. And when I saw him fall in front of me and I rolled up the finish line and I didn't fall, I'm like, stay up, you got this. I was in third at this time. Well, my bike started getting slower and slower and slower. And I'm like, I had some problems with my mechanic throughout the weekends leading up to this. And all I could think about in the back of my head was he messed something up with the clutch. The clutch is...
Right, something happened.
It's a mechanical. Something's going wrong, and I'm freaking out at this point. At this point, it's barely rolling around. I can't even jump anything. And I'm freaking out. I'm screaming. I'm freaking out. Like, there's no way this is how it's going to go down. I'm going to lose the championship because of a mechanical error. It's just, the bike was not running right. Well, I rolled around, and then Kyle got me, and the bike blew up. It was done. I threw it down, and by the way, I'm not proud of all this. Obviously, looking back, I would have changed a lot that night. But just to give you guys the raw story, I threw it down and walked off, and I threw my helmet a couple times and just went back to the pit. And I remember Michael coming up, hugging me. I mean, I was crying, and he goes, "Have you seen the bike?" And I said, "No." What do you mean, no, I haven't seen the bike? He goes, "Well, you might want to go look at it." Because I remember I was screaming at my mechanic. I threw a big temper tantrum. And like I said, not proud of any of those decisions that I made. And went out there and looked at the bike, and the water pump was just destroyed. Like, when I made contact with Kyle, I don't know what caught, but it knocked a hole in the water pump cover, and basically all the antifreeze drained out of the motorcycle.
Right.
And it
Caused
blew
it to
up.
seize up.
Yeah. So, lost the championship. Kyle won. Man, I felt just like so defeated. I felt like I had given it everything I had and some, and to make that kind of move, it was tough. And then I woke up the next day, and I mean the amount of death threats and hate and all the stuff on social media was like next level.
I was about to say, because I mean, just before the show, I went back through all your stuff and read through, and I mean, there's comment after comment after comment, and I mean, I feel like, like motocross racers, the fans are pretty brutal to begin with, but like a lot of people, they didn't even really give you a chance to think like, this dude just lost, everything he had been working for. But yeah, I mean, I guess kind of with the whole temper tantrum, and it was caught on camera as well, and so everybody got to see it. And while the fans may have been able to see the damage to your bike, and I think that's interesting what you said, because I don't think a lot of people know about the history with the mechanic. But yeah, was there a big mental side with that? With all of a sudden all these fans are against you?
Well, not only that, but then the next day I got told that I remember someone coming up to me and goes, "Dude, why don't you just stay behind him?" I'm like, "What are you talking about, man? I had to beat him to win the championship." They said, "No, if you would have stayed behind him, you would have tied in points, and the tiebreaker would have been who had more main event finishes." Well, that was me. Well, dude, like I said, this is the story I was going to tell after I told this previous story. I didn't know that. Yeah. That was not communicated to me at all. It was not like, hey, if you get behind Kyle, stay right behind him. And when we got off the gate and we were bumping and stuff, and we come out of the tunnel, we're in the whoops. Guess who was just ahead of Kyle? Well, it was Gavin Faith, who said that he wanted my head. Well, I don't know how that main event was going to play out. I don't know what was going to happen. So I saw my opportunity to
make something happen.
And I did, and it was instant karma, man. I did it. It bit me right in the butt, and man, the next day I still had interviews to do, and people were just bashing me and just like, wow, you're dirty. You know, that's a nice one.
Yeah.
It was just rough, and I was just like, dude, I said on the interview, I'm like, man, I went for it. I was unaware that I was able to tie in points and still win the championship. I was not communicated. It just, there was so much up in the air,
right.
man. It was a crazy, crazy, crazy experience that I've never had to experience again, and hopefully I never do. But yeah, it was a crazy experience. And
so is the relationship with you and Kyle still pretty bitter? You guys been able to work it out?
We finally were able to work it out and talk, and you know, when I see him, we'll catch up and stuff like that. He's living in Texas now, doing a lot of training. So yeah, we're able to move past it. I mean, it took some time, obviously.
Absolutely.
But we were able to move past it. I think at the end of 2016, to the end of 2016, I went up to him, as cliche as it may be, at Vegas and told him that I wanted to apologize, that was not the way I should have handled things. And he accepted my apology. I know it was a year later, same race.
Right.
But yeah, I apologize, and yeah, we're good now.
Good.
Yeah.
So with that, we're going to take a quick break. Before I go, I want to give a shout out to my producer, Mark Miller, always making things look good. He's running the mics, running the camera. We'll be back in just a minute and get the rest of Jacob Hayes' story, man. This has been awesome so far. We'll be right back. All right, guys, we're back from break. So Jacob, we picked up right at the end of the 2015 Arenacross series. What was the mindset after that, and where were your plans going from there?
Yeah, after Arenacross was done in 2015 and losing the championship like that, just kind of regroup, man. Really needed to do some soul searching and really kind of find myself again. Felt like I was back at the bottom again, even though, yeah, I still got second, which is incredible, but I wanted that championship. And moving in 2016, it was the same goal. I actually got a call. I was going to race a local money race at Soaring Eagle in Michigan somewhere, and got a call from a team in Canada. They wanted me to come do the Arenacross series up there for them, and I went up there and did that, and ended up winning 3 out of 3 titles up there. I did the 250, the 450, and then they called it a Clash for Cash, and won a bunch of money, won 3 titles, so that was cool. So coming in 2016, had a lot of momentum. Felt like I could win just as I did.
Confidence to kind of come back up after that. Yeah, cool.
Just felt like I just needed to start over. Felt more experienced, stronger. I was not at this point training with Travis anymore. I was back home. Yeah, tried to pick up right where I left off, and the 2016 season was going good. Was getting a lot of wins, had the points lead, was looking really good. Going into the very first round of the championship, I got into it with a rider. He ended up hitting me, and my leg got sucked into his rear tire. I ended up breaking my tib, but I raced through it. I tried to not. I actually said nothing about it during the time, but I rode with a broken tib through the remainder of the rounds, and just finished it off third. Man, I was struggling. I was limping through, honestly. I couldn't ride during the week. I couldn't even walk, man, and I would just muster up for Saturday. So that was a bummer, but I had signed a deal with a team in Canada, the same team that I won the championship with, which is a Kawasaki team, and I wanted to go up there and do some summer racing, man. I hadn't raced outdoors in a long time, since probably 2013 was my last time. Right. And something new adventure. The team was great. I obviously had a lot of success with the team, so I was looking forward to it. Went to the first round and went down the first corner. Got into it with another rider. Did my ACL, so I was out for that summer, and re-signed with Babbitt's. coming into, this is the end of 2016, getting ready for 17, and he was like, man, let's do Monster Cup. It'd be fun. I'm like, heck yeah, that would be fun on a 450. I would like to do that. So this is coming back from my knee injury.
Right.
This is an injury not many people know about. It was a scary one for me. I had just gotten 2 brand new Arenacross tracks built by 402 MX.
I remember seeing those things. They were so sweet.
They were a sight, man. It was like my own dreamland. And I remember it was my first day riding the 450. We had gotten a new motor in it and everything in it. And it was the first day on the track, and it was like a dragon's back to a tabletop. So on, off, and then into the turn before the finish line. And I'd done 3 laps, and I had just, the lap before, I had done the dragons on, off, and then the finish line. And next lap I came through, did the dragons, landed on, and the bike shut off. And I made it onto the next tabletop, but then to go off, I didn't have, like, it all happened so quick. I just didn't have time to brake or really do anything. And I jumped off the motorcycle and ended up flying headfirst into the berm. Bike hit me in the back. I was out cold. Well, they said I wasn't breathing for 2 minutes, and then I started snoring for about 2.5. So I was out about 4.5 minutes. Wow. Cold turkey. I woke up and I was just complaining about my neck, and I ended up breaking my C2 and my C4 vertebrae.
Wow, really?
Yeah, in my neck. Actually, like burst fractures to both of those. And if you're not familiar, the C, I'm not exactly sure which one, but one is your breathing. So if it would have broken the right way, I would have suffocated to death. And then the other one is all your functions.
Right.
So I got rushed to the hospital. Spent a lot of time in the hospital, man. I went through the first probably 24 hours was just not good. And luckily they ended up not having to do surgery. I got very, very, very lucky. And they just put me in a halo, and they wanted me to be in that for 6 weeks. And mind you, the Arenacross series is coming up.
Right.
So this is around Monster Cup time, which is, what is that?
October-ish.
Yeah. So you're talking about a neck injury. You're not talking about a couple weeks like a finger would be or something like that. So you're talking like months. Then you're going in the Arenacross with no time, and like at this point, do I even want to race? I just broke my neck.
Yeah, this is a serious injury. Yeah.
And I obviously didn't tell the team how serious it was. Yeah. I mean, if you ask anyone and they say, yeah, I broke my neck, I'm going to be like, whoa.
Yeah,
like,
hold on a second.
Yeah, like,
exactly.
what do you mean? So I try to downplay as much as I could. And I'm talking barely scraped by to get ready for Arenacross. Like, I had like a couple days on the bike. Like, a couple days.
Before the whole season.
Yeah, like, to even get back on the motorcycle was like a big leap for me. Like, I was scared. I mean,
well, that's what I was about to say. I mean, like something like that where the doctors tell you what could have gone wrong and how lucky you are. How much does that play in the mental side of it? Because, I mean, I can only imagine. I mean, like our guest last week, he had broken his C6 and C7. And so, I mean, kind of like what you were saying, we don't really know exactly how all of the spine works and stuff like that. So to be told, oh, well, you just got lucky, or you could have suffocated to death. Like,
right.
That's got to weigh on your head some.
Yeah, man, it was crazy, man. I was laying in bed, I was crying. I'm just like, this is just wow. Like, and for it to be out of your control, obviously, is just like, it could have been done just like that, man. And it was just like, do I still want to do this? And I kind of sat back and looked at it like, man, if that was my time to go, then it was my time to go. And I felt like, the man above was watching over me, and just like my story's not done yet.
Right.
So I was like, I'm going to get back on the motorcycle. And just barely got ready for Arenacross and went to the first round. I knew the first round was not going to be anything great. I hadn't had much time on the motorcycle, so I got 5th, and I was honestly stoked with that. And, I mean, this sounds bad, but for me to get 5th and not even been riding, I was like, dude, these guys are in for a real treat.
Rude awakening, absolutely.
So did a lot of riding the next week. I felt good. Went to the next weekend. Crushed practice. Was first. Won my heat race by 8 seconds. And first main event was winning by 5. And it was 2 to go. And I remember it's kind of hard to hear in the arenas and stuff with all those bikes. But I remember feeling like my bike was cutting out. Like it was like blubbering, and we were having some trouble with some of the parts on the bike. We were trying some different stuff, and I'm like, if it makes one more weird noise, I had enough gap I could roll for 2 laps.
Right.
I felt like I could roll the finish line for 2 laps.
Right.
Well, I come around, I'm like, told myself, if I stab in it, it like makes some weird noise, I'm just gonna let off and not do the finish line. Well, I stabbed in it, was good. Well, as soon as I hit the finish line face, it shut off. So I lost all my momentum, and I ended up not even making the finish line. I just faced right into the back of it and broke my ankle, my right ankle. I broke my talus, and man, at that point, like that was it. Like
right.
I at that point, I told my mom took me to the hospital. And I said, I'm done. This is it. Like 3, my knee, my neck, and now my ankle. And I had, from each one of those, from my knee to get ready to do Monster Cup, then I did my neck.
Right.
And then to get ready for Arenacross to do my ankle, it was literally back to back to back. And I was like, I'm done. This is it. And recovering from my ankle was probably one of the hardest recoveries I've gone through. It's your flexor bone in your ankle, so I don't have a lot of flexibility in my ankle right now. I have 4 screws in there that will stay in there forever. I have a lot of stiffness, still a lot of pain, a lot of numbness. I can't. Doctor told me I'd never be able to run again. So
wow.
Yeah. I still had a deal in 2017. I was second round in for Arenacross, so I still had a deal to do outdoors in Canada. So again, it was like, should I come back?
Yeah.
And as I have done many times, I picked myself up and started preparing for that, and it wasn't good, man. My ankle was not strong. I couldn't even hardly ride a day, much less days in a row.
Right.
It was just so tender and so sore, and putting it in a boot was just like
wasn't
an
helping
agony.
the situation in it, yeah.
And I went up there and just mustered through a season. I knew I needed to build. I needed to build back what I had lost over injuries and time and just time off the bike.
Absolutely.
And so I knew if I could make it through the summer and escape, being injured and try to get back to a good position, that I could maybe go for another run at an Arenacross title. And just got ready. This is crazy, but I was testing in California, feeling extremely good. Went down at Milestone. This is an injury no one knows about either. Went down at Milestone, landed on my right shoulder really hard, but it wasn't out in front of me. It wasn't behind me or anything, but I landed on it really, really hard. And I was supposed to be out there for another week. We still had photo shoot stuff to do, and I couldn't even lift my arm up like past my side.
Wow.
Like it got really stiff, and I went to the doctor there. They took a bunch of x-rays and nothing was wrong with it. No broken bones. So I'm like, okay, good. It's just maybe muscle. It's like tight and stuff like that. And came home. I wasn't able to ride anymore. Like when I did photo shoot, I just did still shots. And came home and I tried to ride and I couldn't even do 5 laps. And I'm like, what? Like, this isn't right. Something's wrong. Something doesn't feel right. Went and got more x-rays. They're like, man, it's nothing. You probably got a bad muscle bruise.
Right.
I'm like, okay. So I started doing therapy and doing like dry needling. I was taping. I was doing physical therapy for it, and nothing was getting it better. And here comes the first round of Arenacross.
Right.
I hadn't been riding. I took off a month before the first round because I'm trying to get this thing like
movable.
rest it
absolutely.
up, much less to hold on a dirt bike. So I go to the first round and somehow got 3rd overall. And after the last main event, I remember I took my arm like this off the throttle and set it down like that. My team manager come up to me and goes, "What's wrong?" I said, "My arm's just tired, nothing." And he's like, "Okay." And I couldn't even hold the trophy up on the podium, so I had to hold it with my left hand. And I couldn't hold the bottle of Monster up. I kept my hand down. And so the next week, it was straight to therapy again. Because at this point, in my head, nothing's wrong. It's just muscle bruising. And they said it could be worse than a break. And I'm like, okay. So second round comes again. Still can barely hold on. Somehow get second. And I'm like, man, I got to take another look at this. Another x-ray. So I got more x-rays. Nothing was wrong. went to a sports doctor that deals with a lot of NFL players in Charlotte, and he said, man, nothing's wrong, but I'm going to order you an MRI since you've been seen so many different times about the same injury. I'm like, okay. He ended up giving me a cortisone shot to try to get me by until my MRI.
Right.
That didn't help at all.
Really?
Like, he said, this will take a lot of your pain out. Did not help at all. It was, I mean, I don't know if anyone's had a cortisone shot, but it was rough. Like, it was, when he did it into my shoulder, I mean, it was painful. So, ended up getting the MRI, come around to my home race in Greensboro again. And I still haven't ridden during the week. I rode press day at Greensboro and was starting to, like, get, like, a little bit more, like, confident in my shoulder. But at this point, I still hadn't gotten my results from my MRI. So, and meanwhile, I'm racing through every weekend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of this.
And you're still doing well, too.
Right.
You're not just racing.
I went
but...
third, second, first at the third round. And I still can't ride during the week. I'm still nursing an injury. Well, at this point, they said, bruised muscles.
Right.
So I get my MRI the week before Greensboro, but I'm not able to get my results until after Greensboro. But I go to Greensboro, hometown race again, and it was surreal, man. The crowd was loud, and just the energy and the vibes in that arena was just something I've never felt before. I felt a lot of love, and was able to win, man, and it was great. It was honestly a great feeling. And the Monday after, I got called and said that I had a broken scapula. So
wow.
I had been racing all this time with a broken scapula, which we all thought it was my shoulder, but your scapula is like in your back.
Right, yeah.
Like, so I'm like, you realize we took, like, at that point, probably 10 x-rays on the same shoulder, and they took different angles. Obviously, like, they made me lift my arm up as tough as that was, but x-ray didn't show it, and I had a broken scapula. I didn't have to get surgery. At that point, it was starting to heal.
By that point, yeah.
Yeah, because, I mean, this is like 2 months later. And, yeah, it was brutal, man. I was just like, I really just rode all this time with a broken scapula. Like, that's gnarly.
I won with a broken scapula.
Like, that's gnarly, man. And, yeah, just the season kept getting better. I kept getting stronger. I was able to ride, train. And I was working with my trainer, who I am currently still with, Seth Rarick. And, man, we were just doing a lot of off-the-bike stuff, trying to gain what we weren't able to gain in the off-season.
Right.
And we were getting good. We were catching momentum. Me and Gavin Faith, my teammate on Babbitt's, was battling hard. And he got hurt at the first round to the championship. He broke a couple bones in his back, man, pretty bad. He got off really bad in practice, which was unfortunate, man. We and him were battling hard. We had swapped the red plate back and forth a couple times, and so he was out, so I was the lone wolf on Babbitt's,
right,
and
it was yours.
I was trying to hold it down, and just throughout the end of the season, me and Chris Blow started battling, and man, it came down to Vegas again. We went in there separated by 1 point, and unfortunately he went down in the heat race and ended up messing his knee up really bad, so that kind of left the door open for me. And after I completed the head-to-head, mind you, I'm a lot smarter from 2015 to 2018, so I know exactly what points are where, what needs to be done. So after winning the head-to-head, mathematically, he didn't show up, and he wasn't racing the main event. So mathematically, I had already won the championship before I even raced the main event.
Even lined up, okay.
So that was the hardest thing. So I'm like, well, heck, I don't even want to race. Let's celebrate.
Let's party.
Yeah, let's celebrate. Let's pop some champagne. Well, obviously, I had a job to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So lining up for main event one, there was no nerves, but it was just like I wanted to be over. Like,
yeah,
I wanted to
let's get it done.
I wanted to celebrate. So I went out there and I just rode around, man. I really had nothing to gain, nothing to lose. I had proved so much in Arenacross, so I just kind of rode around and got second. And then I'm like, you know what? This last main event, I'm going to put a stamp on it, win the final main event, and win the championship and go out on top. And that's what I did. And it was great. I come across the finish line, and it was just like, I think, with it being so long, and I had so many, in 14 I was close. 15 I was
right there.
There. And then 16 I still got third, and then 17 I didn't race, and then 18 it was just like, I'm more like, finally. versus like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it was like, it's kind of more of like a sigh of relief.
Right.
Because I had finally repaid the guys that had been behind me through it all. Babbitts had stuck behind me through the injuries, through everything. So, yeah, it was kind of like, finally, now let's set our sights on something else. Because Arenacross at that time was coming to an end.
Right.
Fell was not going to hold the Amsoil Arenacross anymore, and there was not going to be a series. So that was it. I won the last Arenacross Championship, the Amsoil Arenacross Championship. So it was pretty cool. And to have my name in the record books as the last guy to win it is pretty awesome. So,
Absolutely.
Moving forward, the summer, I was like, you know what, I'm going to continue training. Babbitts had been kind enough to lend me a 450 to ride, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go ride an outdoor national. They had it at Muddy Creek.
Absolutely.
Why not?
Yeah.
It's 3 hours from the house. Went there and got 11th overall in the 450 class. Hadn't done an outdoor national in the States since 2013, so that's, 5 years?
Yeah.
It's a while. So went there and got 11th, and I was like, man, that's pretty sweet.
Well, I remember, like, I was at that race, and I remember coming up to you between Motos 1 and Moto 2, and, like, Michael Mitchell was talking to you, and you could see all of a sudden you were like, I'm not quite as far off of everybody as I thought I was.
Yeah,
and, like, I remember watching the second moto, and you were battling with Weston Pike, and, I mean, you know, the top guys out there, and you were holding your own. And so that was cool to see you out there on those stage against those guys and getting it done as well. So.
It was awesome, man. I mean, especially not to do one in forever. So, and everyone, I mean, I understand they labeled me as an Arenacross guy. That's all I had done for years. So it was cool to go out there and just kind of show what else I could do.
Right.
And then that somehow opened up a lot of doors, and I just I got a call from a team over in Australia. I've been wanting to go over there for many, many years and race the Australian Supercross Series. So I got a call from Yamaha, from Serco Yamaha, to race over there. And obviously I jumped right on that, man.
Absolutely.
Who would not want to go to Australia and do what you love in Australia? It was like I had to stay for like 2.5 months, I think it was the stay. And it was right during their summertime. So I was like, heck yeah. Well, as right when I got ready to go over there, Christina Denny with Cycle Trader, Rock River Yamaha, got in touch with me. It was like, would you be willing to consider riding for me next year? I'm like, heck yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, well, of course. So the whole time I was over there, we were talking back and forth, emailing back and forth, and then she actually sent my contract while I was over in Australia. So that was really cool. I was already on a Yamaha. I've been a long-time Cowie guy.
Yeah, how was that transition from Cowie to Yamaha? Pretty smooth, or takes?
It felt smooth until I went racing, and then I realized I didn't know quite as much as I thought I did about the Yamaha. You know what I mean? You never know until you go racing. So I raced the first round in Australia, and I just felt rusty, man. I didn't have my starting technique was completely different on the Cowie. It allowed me to start one way, and then on the Yamaha, it allows you to start a different way. The power's different. The handling's different. So it was a learning curve, and I had fun over there. I got third overall in the championship, which wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to win the championship, but I had a good base, I guess, coming back home. And as soon as I came back home, got fired up with the Cycle Trader Rock River Yamaha team, and it's been awesome.
Absolutely, yeah. No, and I didn't realize that you had already kind of had that deal set up before you were finished with the Australia. So were you doing any type of, even if you weren't telling the team, like testing, trying to figure some stuff out for when you got back to the States? I mean, you were trying to get ahead of the game.
Yep, most definitely. Oh, yeah.
So, obviously, you being an East Coast Carolina boy, were you wanting to do East Coast? Did you know immediately you were going to be on the West Coast? I mean, like we know, like Mitch Payton, he doesn't tell his guys. Did you know coming in where you were going to be beforehand for a while?
Yeah, I mean, this is crazy to hear me say this, but I told her I wanted to do the West. I preferred to do the West because the first 5, you can basically drive to all of them on the West. It's like bang, 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 bang. And Supercross is massive in California. And I knew if I could get out there and ride and do my motos and have the whole team behind me, that I would be successful in the West Coast. And I got home November 13th from Australia. As soon as the day Thanksgiving was over, so yeah, November 26th, I flew to California. No, I actually drove. I drove to California, and got started immediately with just testing. And like you said, I had already figured some stuff out in Australia that I knew that didn't work, but then we had a whole different set of stuff we needed to work through, like the parts were different and stuff like that. So we just got going, and it was fun. It was different, you know what I mean? I had been with Babbitt's for so long, so it was just like that was home, and then now you're starting a whole new process over again, and it was just like, it's what I needed, though, you know what I mean? It
refreshing.
Was, it was like it was new air, new scenery, and I know I took the 1 year off in 2014 and rode the Honda, but I started off on a Kawasaki. I mean, I rode Kawasaki's from 07, let's just say 07 to 18.
Basically,
that's a long time.
That's a long time.
It's a long time, plus or minus a couple years. You know, I had the 1 year on the KTM in 2012 and then the 1 year on Honda in 14, but that's been it, all Kawi since then. So, it was a big switch, but I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Absolutely. So we line up on A1. When you lined up in Arena Cross, I felt like you've always felt like you were one of the guys. I mean, like you kind of said after that first podium in your first real Arena Cross, you were like, all right, well, like I've got the speed to run with these guys. And you've always been able to see yourself up there, you know, among the top. When you were lined up in A1, I mean, like obviously it's A1. Mm-hmm. Were you a little scared? Was there, you know, a little extra nerves, or were you able to pretty much stay cool, calm, and collected and do what you needed to do?
At this point, you know, now I'm 25, so I've been through a lot of situations, been put up against a lot of walls, and at this point, man, I'm just living out my dream. Honestly, I had worked so hard just to get to that stage, and I remember I did press there, and it was Friday morning, and I remember riding down the tunnel, and I looked up, and I'm like, you made it. Not saying I physically made it, like, right. Yeah, I made it to the big stage, you know what I mean? And it was surreal, man. I was just like, after all these injuries, all this hard work, all this sacrifice, all the down moments, I mean, like I said, honestly, man, I feel like I just never gave up. I never allowed myself to give up. Yeah, I had low moments and times where I was feeling sorry for myself, but at the end of the day, I just I knew there was a bigger plan, and I knew I was meant to do something great. And so it was when the night show started. I was like, don't look at the crowd, don't look at the crowd, don't look at the crowd, and it was. I ended up leading the heat race for a couple laps, and then Adam Cincerella got me, and I got fourth in my heat race, and that was like, I'm like, okay, now, like I was so tight in that heat race, especially when I realized like I was leading the heat race. So I just got for the main event and was running 7th, got 8th, and that was a good platform, you know what I mean? Absolutely. I want to be inside the top 10 at the first round. Obviously, I didn't know leading up to the first round. I had a couple weeks of just I wasn't making stuff up, but I was like, this isn't working right. This isn't working right, and it was just my head I was getting more and more nervous and anxious. It was getting closer. So it was a good start to get 8th, and I just want to work from there, and that's what I've done.
Yeah, no, it seems like throughout the season. I mean, obviously, I've been watching you pretty closely, and I mean, the consistency's there. You've been able to back it up. I mean, relatively top 10 to top 15 every round. Obviously, before your crash and stuff like that, I mean, there's no way you can't be happy with that. And, I mean, I feel like I know everybody around here has been super stoked to see you do well. Now, let's take it through the crash. You had crashed in practice before and hurt your hand before you re-injured it. Is that correct? Yeah, I did.
So I had my best overall weekend in Oakland. I qualified overall 5th. Out of the last practice, I was overall 3rd, so that was big for me.
Absolutely.
Got 3rd in the heat race and got 5th, worked my way into 5th for my best finish for 5th in Oakland. So I was riding a high, went to San Diego, it was a mud race, blah, 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 it was mud. So had a 3-week break leading into Atlanta, and that was going to be the first East-West shootout. Atlanta was fun. I always wanted to race there. Mercedes-Benz Stadium was awesome, man. It was huge, and especially we just went there after the Super Bowl was there, which was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, Tom Brady has walked around these halls, and after that, I had 2 more weeks off, and then we were supposed to go to Seattle, and I was just getting some outdoor testing in, and I went down really, really hard, like really, really hard. And I knew I injured my left hand, but I didn't know how bad, and I got an x-ray, and the first doctor I saw said I had broken my 4th metacarpal, about midways in my left hand, and I'm like, all right, well, maybe I need to see an orthopedic surgeon. So I went and saw an orthopedic surgeon the very next day. He was like, man, I don't see it. And I'm like, okay, all right, I can handle that.
Right.
So then I just forgot about it. I'm like, all right, I'm going to get ready for Seattle. So I didn't ride before Seattle. Showed up in Seattle, was racing, was running 4th. Got bumped, went down, got back up, was battling my way into 5th, hit another rider, and just kind of re-injured the hand. And so took that whole week off, got an MRI, and obviously I didn't get the results until the next week. So I tried to race Houston, ended up going down again. And it was just like there was a magnet on my hand. Like each time I fell, it was like I was hitting.
Was what you hit.
Yeah, I was just hitting the hand, and re-flared it up again. So then I have 2 weeks off, and we're coming into Denver, and I'm like, I got to take the full 2 weeks off. I got to try to do everything I can to get it better, and I did. Did a lot of home remedy stuff. Saw a lot of different people. It was a crazy,
anything you could find.
Yeah, it was just whatever, man. It was whatever stuff I'd never even heard of. I was trying to do. So went to Denver. Actually road practice in the snow, which is like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Like, excuse me? Like rain? Yeah, but snow? I was riding the first practice and like not pulling tear-offs because there's rain. It was snow on my tear-offs, so I'm pulling tear-offs because it's snowing. And I'm like, okay, it's like 28 degrees. My hand is stiff. I can barely pull the clutch in. It's supercross. It's very demanding. So we made the decision not to race. Just myself and the team, and we're just trying to get better and get ready for what's next.
Absolutely. So speaking of what's next, planning for doing the outdoors, hopefully?
Yeah, all 12 rounds of outdoors. Going to be healthy and strong for that, and that's basically what is next, is to be prepared, strong, mentally, physically, healthy, and go out there and kick some butt.
Absolutely, dude. Well, I mean, it's been an honor for you to share your story with me. I can't thank you enough for coming on the show, man, for having this sick garage for us to shoot in. Yeah, guys, please go on Upshift MX's YouTube page. We're on Spotify, SoundCloud. Like, share, subscribe. Go follow Jacob, follow his story, support him. Yeah, man, thank you again. Can't thank you enough, for real.
No, I appreciate you guys coming out, and it's been fun. Hopefully everyone's able to subscribe and watch the show.
Absolutely, man. Well, guys, this has been episode 4. We'll be back next week with some more. Hope you guys enjoyed.